Welcome to Literary Journeys with River. Today we begin at the true chronological start of the Witcher universe with Crossroads of Ravens, the first prequel, following a young and inexperienced Geralt as he takes his first real steps as a Witcher. Remember, this is only a summary, not the full book. If you enjoy clear and faithful story-driven summaries, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Leave a comment telling us where you're listening from, as comments help the video reach more people and support literary journeys. Let's get started. Chapter 1. Geralt, still dazed from recent blows, faces Mayor Bulava in the village of Newhold, accused of murdering a deserter. As he is interrogated, his attention fixates on a taxidermied raven that mysteriously blinks. Bound and watched over by the thug Daryl, the Witcher recites an ancient decree to justify his actions, but Bulava discredits him and orders him to be flogged. Just as Geralt is about to be punished, Blawfall, in charge of constructing the Great Route, bursts in and defends the Witcher, claiming it was self-defense. A peasant supports this version and, by bribing the mayor, secures his release. Tensions rise further when Captain Carlton's soldiers arrive seeking swift justice. However, a mysterious white-haired Witcher named Preston Holt appears on a black horse and demands Geralt's release. With a magical gesture, he neutralizes a soldier, commanding respect. Geralt is freed and departs with Holt toward a new destination. Chapter 2. Preston Holt leads Geralt to an old mine in Podkarek, now infested with Zatros, small monstrous creatures. There, desperate miners plead for help to rescue an abducted child. Though Holt, hindered by an injured leg, stays outside, he promises to distract the monsters while Geralt descends. In the dark tunnel, the young Witcher finds remnants of a chapel and senses lurking danger. He is soon ambushed. A barrage of stones injures him, and the Zatros surround him. Geralt loses his sword but manages to recover it and slay several enemies before fleeing wounded toward the exit. Outside, Holt waits while eating chicken and admits he forgot to create the promised distraction. The child had miraculously returned on his own. Furious but exhausted, Geralt agrees to rest. At Holt's estate, Rockamora, he begins a period of training, recovery, and reflection, as the veteran Witcher starts to shape him into his potential successor. Chapter 3. Geralt and Holt arrive in Spinum, where the young Witcher is stunned by the misery, market chaos, and the presence of witches with unknown powers. Holt warns him of the dangers of unchecked charity and instructs him on the origins of Witchers, born from women with unstable magic. In the Lorelei brothel, they search for the agent Timur Voronov but find he has left for Belvoir. Upon leaving, they interrupt a street assault. Holt, with precise movements, neutralizes the attacker without anyone understanding how. Later, back in Rockamora, Holt begins rigorous training with Geralt, teaching techniques to incapacitate without killing and the importance of discretion in combat. They also practice fencing with sticks, surprising the young man with Holt's agility. Geralt begins to admire him more, especially upon seeing the scars that tell a life of battle. Holt, enigmatic, reveals little of his past in Kaer Morhen, keeping secrets for another time. Chapter 4. During his stay in Rockamora, Geralt eats well, trains hard, and receives practical lessons from Holt on defense and combat control. The veteran Witcher tells him about his scars and how a Meganura seriously injured him, leading to his retirement. As days pass, Holt carefully evaluates Geralt, trying to prepare him for the true challenges of the trade. He gifts him a reinforced leather jacket, symbolizing his acceptance as a successor. Finally, in May, the time comes to part ways. Holt personally adjusts the young man's gear and bids him farewell with words of encouragement, reminding him that he has yet to make a final decision about the proposed collaboration. Geralt rides alone, heading toward Belvoir. From afar, a spy reports that Holt remains in Rockamora, ill, while Geralt has begun his journey toward the Western March. Destiny begins to weave its web of choices and paths. Chapter 5. Geralt arrives in Belvoir and is received by Timur Voronov, a refined agent who examines him with suspicion. Voronov explains that, as Holt's representative, he now works under his guidance and conditions. He hands over money, vouchers, and warns him not to accept barters or undermine the market by charging too little. He also reminds him to deposit his earnings in Gnomrun banks and to reject non-monetary payments, no matter how tempting. Voronov recommends heading north to the Upper March, where the construction of the Great Route is causing unrest and there's an urgent need for a witcher. Throughout the meeting, Voronov hints that Holt is hiding something serious that happened in 1194 at Kaer Morhen but refuses to reveal more. With new instructions and under a more formal structure, Geralt sets off once more. The young witcher thus begins his professional trade in Kedwin, marked by unspoken secrets and the shadow of the unknown. Chapter 6. Geralt reaches a remote village after seeing a notice requesting help. There he meets Augustus Hornpepper, a halfling blacksmith immune to magic, who prevents him from entering the village, claiming the villagers fear witchers. He recounts that a year ago, a series of misfortunes befell the village. Miscarriages, diseases, and accidental deaths. An old herbalist was accused of witchcraft, killed, and since then, a massive black cat has attacked several children in the forest. Geralt listens skeptically as Hornpepper admits he doesn't believe in magic, but acknowledges something real and deadly is lurking. He accepts the contract for 500 marks, though there is no advance payment. Despite the villagers' mistrust, the witcher prepares for the hunt. Later, he confronts the monster, which turns out to be a Zorl, not a cat, and kills it after a violent, bloody battle that nearly costs him his life. Chapter 7. At a lavish gathering of the Gastronomic Brotherhood in Ard Carré, King Myadrag and the guests are stunned to see a gigantic roasted bird, an Epiornis or Mammothak, supposedly extinct. Chef Ezra Metzgerkop explains how the bird came to his table thanks to a young witcher who killed it in the marshes. Meanwhile, Geralt is being spied on by agents of the prefect of Barentrode, who fail to find any evidence of immorality. In another scene, Geralt visits a pond where crabs are collected for Metzgerkop's restaurant. There, unexpectedly, the Epiornis attacks. Geralt brutally defeats it with a slash to the throat. Although his horse is stolen amid the chaos, Geralt manages to save the injured coachman. Later, at City Hall, the mayor refuses to investigate the horse theft and arrogantly offers to sell him a new one at a discount. Geralt ends up buying a mare named Plotka. The thief is intercepted by soldiers and hanged by Captain Carlton. Chapter 8. After passing through several villages, Geralt arrives at the temple of the goddess Melitel in Elsborg. At the gates, he is insulted by fanatics, but the priestess Nennik recognizes him and lets him in. There he reunites with Assumpta, the high priestess, who welcomes him with warmth and wisdom. Geralt confesses he is seeking answers about the 1194 attack on Kaer Morhen. Assumpta reveals the truth. It was caused by a hate campaign driven by an anonymous pamphlet. A group of zealots stormed the fortress, and only 4 witchers survived by casting a powerful joint sign, which also cost them their lives. Holt, then called Reindert, survived but was found outside the castle, wounded during his escape. Geralt, shocked, listens silently. Assumpta warns him that Holt is not a suitable mentor and that he must find his own path. She reminds him that his mistakes now carry real consequences. As he departs, Geralt heads towards Spinum, where new troubles await. Chapter 9. Geralt arrives in the village of Sklana Gora, where he finds an entire family overtaken by a living black substance slowly consuming them. The villagers, driven by superstition, have hanged a young woman for witchcraft and are now accusing another. Geralt suspects a genuine curse. With the accused woman's help, he tracks down the true culprit, a grieving mother whose son was run over by the mayor. Driven by vengeance, she cast a curse with devastating consequences. She confesses her remorse and begs Geralt to end her life to break the spell. The Witcher performs a brutal ritual, killing her in a precise and painful manner. The curse fades, but the villagers refuse to pay him, attributing the healing to a priest. They offer only 5 coins for showing up. Geralt, hungry and morally devastated by what he had to do, leaves without argument, bearing the burden of his profession's cost. Chapter 10. Geralt's fame grows after the curse of Sklana Gora, though his reputation is distorted. He receives numerous calls for false curses, scams, and deceptions. At a crossroads, he finds a signpost leading him to a deserted village, where he is ambushed by agents of Prefect Trillo de Cunha. The prefect accuses him of 2 murders and pressures him to provide evidence against Preston Holt, whom he suspects of past crimes. Geralt refuses. Just as he is about to be arrested, Elena Fiacre de Mersault, commander of the Upper March, appears and releases him by order of Margrave Luitpold Lindenbrog. She takes him to a nearby village and explains that the Margrave needs a witcher. A young noblewoman turned Strzyga is terrorizing the region. The creature, an illegitimate daughter of a noble, is killing miners and threatening salt production. Though the Margrave wants to save her, the people demand her extermination. Geralt, weary and doubtful, agrees to meet the Margrave and face the monster. Chapter 11. Geralt prepares to break the curse of a Strzyga terrorizing Brunanburh. In an ancient cemetery under the full moon, he identifies an unmarked grave surrounded by bones. He knows he must endure until the 3rd crow of the rooster for the creature to lose its power. Meanwhile, he is summoned by Margrave Luitpold Lindenbrog, an arrogant noble who despises witchers but needs him for his efficiency. During the audience, the Margrave boasts of a cup decorated with witcher bones, supposedly a trophy from Kaer Morhen. Despite his disdain, he offers 500 crowns if Geralt can restore the Strzyga's humanity, as she was a young noblewoman transformed after death. Geralt accepts the job and that night confronts the creature in a brutal fight. He defeats her with his sword but fails to lift the curse. The Strzyga dies and transforms into a decapitated girl. Frustrated, Geralt leaves the place. Chapter 12. After the failure in Brunanburh, Geralt returns to Rockamora to spend the winter with Preston Holt. They celebrate Midinvern with the estate staff, and during a private dinner, Geralt recounts all that happened, including the Strzyga's transformation and the Margrave's refusal to pay him. Holt, compassionate, comforts him but also reveals secrets. Witchers were created by mages for warfare as a form of human evolution, though the experiments caused thousands of child deaths. It is said 3 fortresses house different variants of the project: Mirabel, Beangrud, and Kaer Morhen. Holt and Geralt train daily with staves, perfecting lethal techniques and complex defenses. The young witcher questions his abilities after failing the Ard sign in battle. Holt suggests nature might be correcting the mutation. Amid readings of bestiaries and ancient treatises, Geralt discovers a hidden pamphlet that may have incited the Kaer Morhen massacre. Holt avoids the topic, but the past catches up with them. Chapter 13. Geralt reaches Lake Tuamdur and the village of Tulloch, where he is hired by Seneschal Diego Mars to investigate a monster in Thornhall Castle, summer residence of Margrave Vakinen. Accompanied by the sorceress Vray Nataravn, they cross the lake on a barge shared with sheep and a black cat. At the castle, they discover young Count Frederick suffered an accident in a supposed encounter with a hippocampus, though Vray reveals he drunkenly fell from his ship's mast. Geralt investigates the creature haunting the kitchen, a mischievous aquatic nuisance rather than a threat. Vray tells the tale of the feud between the Vakinen and Finnegan families, and how Ludmila, the Margrave's daughter, was secluded on the island after falling in love with Redfern Finnegan. Frederick hates Redfern and plans to prevent any reunion. A court of noble hippocampus hunters, more fond of drink than sport, adds tension to the scene. Chapter 14. During a nighttime patrol, Geralt discovers a hidden magical door in Thornhall. When activated, Redfern Finnegan emerges and is captured after a violent struggle with the Witcher. Diego Mars and Count Frederick interrogate him harshly. The next day, Frederick secretly offers Geralt 200 crowns to assassinate Redfern. Outraged, Geralt refuses. Soon after, Vray Nataravn reveals she helped Redfern enter the castle with her spell and demands Geralt free him in compensation. Though reluctant, Geralt ultimately aids Diego Mars and Ludmila in the escape. Instead of a boat, they use the cutter Nihil Novi to reach the coast. That night, Geralt also conspires with Primian Grohot, a noble disillusioned by fake hunts, and together they plan to capture a real hippocampus. Geralt realizes he must act from conviction, not for money or blind obedience to corrupt lords. Chapter 15. After helping Ludmila and Redfern escape, Geralt is summoned by the mysterious Artemon of Escuth at his Zendel estate, surrounded by blooming apple trees. The mage, dean of the Ban Art Academy, praises his humanity and proposes studying his body and blood in the lab, offering immunity and money. Though suspicious, Geralt agrees to consider it. Later, while hidden, he overhears a secret meeting where Artemon orders Holt poisoned and the priestesses Assumpta and Nennik of Elsborg assassinated in a covert plot. He learns they also plan to dissect the young Witcher at Ban Ard. Enraged, Geralt bursts in and kills the mage with 2 precise blows, giving him no time to defend. The execution is covered up. Servants claim ignorance, but a boy remembers 3 visitors, including Meritzel. Ultimately, the prefecture and academy blame Holt, ignoring the true conspiracy. Chapter 16. Consumed by his past, Preston Holt surrenders and confesses to killing the mage Artemon and 3 men who once attacked Kaer Morhen. Though Geralt tries to take the blame, Prefect Estevan Trillo de Cunha rejects the plea and confirms Holt's execution for that very day. Geralt manages a final visit. Amidst sarcasm and affection, Holt reveals his confession was a planned sacrifice to protect him. At the execution, Holt stands with dignity, voicing no revenge, accepting his fate calmly. From a distance, Geralt spots Meritzel and Marcianus Graffiacane, Artemon's former lover, among the spectators. De Cunha hints the body might disappear before the mages dissect it. Acting on this, Geralt retrieves the corpse at dawn and buries it in a nearby forest beneath an old yew. In silence, he leaves an unmarked grave, just a pile of stones, and heads north with resolve. Chapter 17. Geralt pursues Meritzel and her henchmen, now in service of Marcianus Graffiacane. While they bemoan their forced servitude, Geralt follows them unseen. Meanwhile, Holt's tarnished reputation prevents the sale of his estate, Rockamora, now deemed cursed. In one village, Geralt helps a family attacked by the same criminals he seeks. In Elsborg, the priestesses led by Assumpta sense danger and seal the temple. At the same time, Graffiacane orders the assassination of all priestesses, including Nennik and the young Witcher. Meritzel pretends to escort a wounded Geralt into the temple to force entry, but he activates Vray Nataravan's talisman. The sorceress appears and unleashes a spell that conjures a cloud of light and magical mist. Horses panic, attackers flee in terror, and Geralt is rescued at the last moment by the priestesses. However, his injuries are grave, and he falls unconscious, nearly dying in Nataravan's arms. Chapter 18. After the failed attack, Geralt is cared for by the priestesses in Elsborg. Marcianus Graffiacane, enraged, insists on exterminating them and orders Meritzel and her men to complete the plan. Meanwhile, the temple honors Holt with a silent vigil and prayer. The trio of assassins, disguised as pilgrims, attempt to infiltrate again, using an injured Geralt as bait. But the Witcher, sensing danger, activates the amulet Vray had given him. The sorceress appears through a magical portal and casts a spell that drives the attackers away. Geralt, exhausted, loses consciousness. Days later, he travels north, recovered, still haunted by visions of the past. Rockamora is abandoned, believed cursed, until Timur Voronov appears at an auction and acquires the estate. Ultimately, Meritzel and her followers remain in hiding, but the Witcher's shadow pursues them. Preston Holt's legacy endures, and the fight for justice continues, through dark paths and irreversible choices. Chapter 19. Geralt awakens immobilized and in agony after the brutal September attack. Multiple wounds, fractures, a shattered leg, and internal bleeding leave him at death's door. Consumed by pain, he drifts in and out of consciousness for days. He is tended by Nennik and Vray Nataravan, a powerful healer who uses magic, advanced spells, and a potion called Black Seagull to heal him. Despite their efforts, they consider amputation but manage to save the leg under extreme risk. Geralt endures a humiliating recovery, needing to be fed, cleaned, assisted to urinate, and turned in bed to avoid sores. He spends weeks unable to speak or move, trapped between pain and memory. Vray reveals she owed the Witcher a favor and thus came to help. In the end, Geralt survives, but the ordeal leaves him physically and emotionally scarred, with a sense of vulnerability that deeply shames him. Chapter 20. Back on his feet, though not fully recovered, Geralt tries to resume his life at the Elsborg Temple. The priestesses restore his potions and clothing, while his mare Plotka mysteriously returns without her gear. Nennik, after a visit to a Spinum brothel, reveals that Marcianus Servia Graphiacane had an illegitimate son with the mage Artemon, author of the infamous treatise Monstrum. The young man died at the hands of a Witcher in self-defense, and the couple, seeking vengeance, launched a hate campaign against Witchers, even funding the assault on Kaer Morhen. Geralt suspects they were also behind the temple attack. Nennik warns him, vengeance is for primitive minds, but Geralt has already made his decision. Upon parting, Nennik gives him a ribbon to cover his scar and relays a message from Mother Assumpta. You stand at a crossroads, Geralt. The Witcher departs for Rockamora, determined to settle scores with his enemies. Chapter 21. In Rockamora, now renamed Sunnyvale, Geralt receives Holt's swords, medallion, and a posthumous letter from Timur Voronov. In it, Holt confesses he had planned to use Geralt as an instrument to kill the mage Artemon, author of Monstrum. Though he later regretted it and kept Geralt from the scheme, his death left the mission incomplete. Determined, Geralt begins hunting those responsible for the attack. He finds Cyberponti in a mercenary tavern, follows him to the stables, and brutally interrogates him with a noose. After extracting information on Maritzel and Frick, he executes him mercilessly. He then follows Frick to Oxenfurt, where the man challenges him to a fair duel. Both fight with advanced techniques, but Geralt, guided by fencing diagrams left by Holt, anticipates his moves and kills him with a precise blow to the eye. The vengeance has begun. Chapter 22. Geralt tracks Maritzel and Frick across several regions, crossing borders and sniffing through seedy taverns where hired guards gather. Eventually, at the port of Piena, he catches Ponti, interrogates him, and kills him by hanging. He continues to Oxenfurt, where he finds Frick, who proposes sparing Maritzel in exchange for his own life. Geralt refuses. Frick attacks using a complex fencing sequence taught by Holt, but the Witcher recognizes the patterns and kills him by driving his sword's crossguard into his eye. Geralt then travels to Ard Carré, where, without a word, he storms into Marcianus Servia Graphiacane's bedroom. He doesn't touch her. He only shows her the medallion of a slain Witcher. Fear consumes her, and she dies of a heart attack. With the death of all three responsible, Geralt closes the circle of blood and vengeance. Chapter 23. At last, Geralt reaches the sea, a completely new sight for him. The salty air fascinates him, and for a moment he wants to run toward the coast, but stops. There is still work to be done. In a nearby cabin lives Maritzel, the last of the three responsible for the attack. She sees him and flees awkwardly, falling as she tries to mount her horse, which escapes without her. Geralt does not pursue. At that moment, a raven caws from a tree. Danger approaches. A giant scolopendromorph, a monstrous creature, slithers down the hill toward a group of children playing innocently. Seeing the threat, Maritzel flees. Geralt doesn't hesitate. He descends swiftly, Holt's sword in hand, reciting the ancient runic verse. He chooses neither revenge nor flight to the sea, but to protect the innocent. Thus, the Witcher makes his final choice: duty. The wind blows from the sea. This brings us to the end of Crossroads of Ravens, the story that defines Geralt's first true crossroads. Thank you for watching. If you found this summary helpful, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with other Witcher fans. Let us know in the comments what you thought about this early version of Geralt and which Witcher book we should cover next.